to Make Some Plans. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
Hi, and I'm your other host, Angelo, and today we're going to be going over Kelly's prior experience as a infant toddler teacher. So I have a few questions lined up just to kind of go through your experience as an infant toddler teacher from when you started in college and to when you were working at a private toddler center in the city after college. So I have some questions we can start off with. So let's going to start during your experience in college.
Okay.
First question is, how did you end up working as an infant toddler teacher during college?
In my major, I had to complete a practicum, which is an internship experience along with a writing class. So it was an 8-unit class. I don't think all majors have this. I think it was very particular to my major, which was public health policy. The quarter before I was supposed to take the practicum class and the internship, I had to research a whole bunch of different agencies, organizations that were taking interns. I had to be very selective with which internship I wanted to take due to certain circumstances I had. On campus, I saw that there was an early childhood education center, an infant toddler center, a preschool, another nonprofit organization. I emailed to all of them, cover letter, send your resume, etc. The infant toddler center got back to me very quickly. I went in for an interview. I spoke to the director, and then the director accepted me on the spot.
So you said you did it for your public health policy major.
Yes.
So how exactly does that relate to, if at all, the major of public health policy?
That's actually very interesting because they wanted us to have a variety of different experiences. I think that's one of the reasons why they put a variety of different types of internships so that we can gain the perspective of different people. When we think about public health and public health policy, one of the big things that come to mind are children and infants and their development. That's one of the reasons why we vaccinate children when they're born.
So you would say there is a health aspect. What task would one expect to do in an infant toddler center? Let's say someone who doesn't know what an infant toddler center does with children and what the responsibilities entail. What would you describe it as?
It's caregiving. So you are expected to feed the children or assist with them learning how to eat, clean after them, play with them, which is the best part, interact with them, read to them and soothe them when they are upset.
So it sounds like you're maintaining a healthy infant or a healthy toddler at the child center, facilitating their healthy development. And I also know that you had to learn CPR for infants.
In case of emergencies. You never know, and especially with eating, sometimes, let's say if their food is too big, there is a potential hazard for choking.
So it sounds like you applied to a variety of different internships during your senior year, and it seems like this is just one you landed on.
Yeah.
But it seems like it was a very good experience for you. If we bring it back to like the very first time you showed up, or let's say your first week at ITC.
Oh yes, I remember.
So what would you say what are some things that you found yourself to be good at? Some things you found yourself not to be so good at?
It's actually a funny story. I've never held a baby ever before. My experience at ITC, yes. I have never really experienced children at that age group before. And so the very first day, my supervisor, she was like, oh, can you pick this child up and bring it to the table? And I said, you want me to actually lift this child up? Because I was really scared of her not holding the child correctly. So I was really, really scared of being in that role that I have to handle kids. That was one of the things that came with practice. I really got to play with the kids, and I think that was my favorite part. I was able to read to them, I was able to interact with them through toys, and they seemed to really like that.
So you'd say you were pretty good and natural at playing with the kids.
Yeah.
Doing playtime with them.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much holding a child because you'd never held a child
before. In the beginning I was really scared, and I wasn't sure how to hold a child because you have to be very specific. You can't just hold them by their arms because they're going to break. So you have to hold them underneath the armpits and make sure that you are holding the body and not the limbs.
So you were in the internship for
1 quarter,
One
so
quarter.
3 months. 10 weeks, but every day.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain to our listeners the kind of different routes that one can take to get into infant toddler teaching.
In a lot of community colleges and even in universities, there are majors or minors or certificate programs to do early childhood education. You can take a lot of classes to complete whatever it sets out for you to do, and usually those programs entail an internship or practicum, like a very hands-on experience, so that you are able to work in those environments. So I think that's very straightforward.
What would your resume look like to get to that point?
For me, because I wasn't an early childhood education major or anything, we didn't have at our university, I really talked about my tutoring experience with children. If you are working with children, they want to see some aspects that you have worked with an age group. And so I talked about how I did tutoring and how I volunteered, but with older kids. I even specify that I have not worked with infants before. I'm very willing to learn.
Yeah, I was hoping that would kind of tie in a little bit to your work after undergrad. Right. So when you went to the infant toddler center in the city, the private center, your experience you listed was from your internship, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why I got the position, is because I had experience with that age group because of my internship.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't, not that they're not going to hire you or anything, but because I was able to speak about my experience with the owner of the center, I think that was what helped me get placed in that center.
And it sounds like you don't necessarily need the certificate or the associate's degree, but you very much need the experience, not only to show for when you apply, but also because these skills are very much learned on the job. They're not going to teach you, right, for like a month or so what to do. They kind of want you to jump right in. Yeah,
it was very much, there's no training process because...
Yeah, they expect you to know it, kind of.
Yeah, because kids, they're unpredictable sometimes, so you kind of just have to like jump right in and you just do it. I did have coworkers who had no experience at all, but they maybe took a couple classes on psychology or a couple classes under the umbrella of psychology of like human development, and they would still be hired.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on the institution. I have also seen other places where they require a certain amount of early childhood education, or they want you to either have those units down, or that you are enrolled in courses, or that you have the associate's certificate, or even a degree in it. It varies.
Yeah. Moving on to when you worked at the private infant toddler center, what made you kind of go back to that setting? Given that you had graduated public health, what's something that brought you back to that job setting?
After I graduated, I was job searching for basically 6 months, and I did not get anything back. I looked in all sectors. I looked into scribing. I looked into clinical settings in a medical office. I looked into the public health department in my city. I looked into all jobs. I didn't hear anything back. I was just applying to jobs on a whim, just any type of job and anything I had background in. I applied to the center that I eventually worked at, and then they got back to me immediately. We set up an interview, and then I went to the interview, great conversation, and then they hired me on the spot.
So it seems like a very common theme that people who graduate, they kind of just search for whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was out of college, I believe, for 8 months. It was hard, and I was trying my best, to work on my resume and to write a lot of cover letters and everything, and at that point, a job is a job, honestly.
Right. But at least you could say you had previous experience in that, sector or position. Just like how I had previous, exposure to beer and stuff like that from my lab class.
For sure.
So it's not a kind of
thing. Exactly. I think there it's definitely a parallel where you find something that you are good at. Or not good at, but you have experience in, and you kind of have to take that and run with it.
Okay. Right into the experience at the private center. So that was still in toddlers, right?
It was in
so
toddlers,
kind of same age group.
Yes.
The center, did that have more like children on site or less or about the same number?
I think it had a little less.
What age group that would be?
Infants, I believe, is like, when they are born up until they are maybe like 9 to 1 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then toddlers, I want to say about like 12 to 24 months.
Okay.
1 to 2 years old.
Anything under 1 years old would be baby.
Yeah. I mean, I use it like loosely because I know that there are definitions that are strict, so I just want to put out a disclaimer that I'm using it loosely.
All right. Yeah, so we kind of talked about the general responsibilities involved with being an infant toddler teacher. I kind of want to go into the experiences of the parents working with them or seeing them when they arrive, when they drop their child off, when they pick their child up. Parents are very different with their parenting styles. So they're dropping off their kid and relinquishing them to you for a whole day. You're only one person versus like, let's say 10 kids that have been parented in 10 different ways in their household. Do parents actually try to tell you how to take care of their kid, or is that up to you? What's the dynamic that occurs between like a parent and an infant toddler teacher?
When parents want to enroll into a preschool, the director of the center will interview the parents first. The director will also say, this is kind of like our schedule and this is how we do things. The parents can decide if this is the right preschool for their child. They know what they are going into with their kids. We don't really discipline them in the way that like parents do, but we could say, oh, that hurt somebody. It's not very nice.
They have an expectation going in because the school has their way of doing things, and they have to disclose that to the parent before enrolling them. So I think that's pretty straightforward and clear.
At the school that I worked for, they were very upfront with the scheduling, with the food, when we would have meal times, when they would nap, and then let's say if they're going from the infant classroom to pre-toddler classroom, parents know what to expect, and then we also do transitions. Usually transitions, it's with napping and snacks. The infants, we go with what the parents want. So let's say this infant sleeps for 3-hour naps at a time and then they eat. So we follow that schedule. And then when you go infant and toddler stage, so that's a transitional where they are crawling or they're like starting to walk or learning how to walk. So they do 2 naps and then before the nap they eat. And then they play. And then the toddlers, they do 1 nap, which is after lunch, 2 snacks, and then they play.
What are the dynamics between coworkers?
We are actually sectioned off by age group. We have lead teachers where they are responsible for this type of classroom setting, and then they are expected to be there for the majority of the time. And then we have floaters, which they just go wherever is needed. The infant teachers, they're pretty much the same because infants, they like schedules and they like what's expected. So there isn't a lot of change with the infant teachers. But with the like pre-toddlers and the toddlers, we have people that circulate when the pre-toddlers are napping. That's usually when we start taking breaks. So that's when we tag team. And then we circle around because we have to keep in ratio of the kids.
Yeah.
The dynamic is that we do have to be very vocal about what is needed. So for example, right before nap time, when we're changing diapers, it gets a little crazy because they just ate. So they're very hyper and they're like running around even though we're getting ready for a nap. One teacher has like 3 kids in the bathroom changing diapers, and then there's 2 teachers out setting up for nap time, and one teacher is interacting with the kids so that we can get ready for nap time. That can get hectic when sometimes after you change a diaper, then the kid has a blowout. So that kid has to go back into the bathroom and you have to change the diapers again. So we have to be very vocal about, we're sending this kid back in because we have a very strict clipboard when we change diapers and stuff.
It seems very like you kind of have to pick up slack wherever is needed.
Yeah, and it does get frustrating sometimes. Sometimes kids have very bad days and it's really, really hard. When one kid has a very bad day, that kind of affects other kids. They affect you, and you're also like enclosed in one room, and then things get chaotic.
Okay. Sounds very, very interesting. So you would say it's not like there's a math teacher and a science teacher
No.
and a history teacher. You're all teachers.
We're all the same and we all work together. Well, we have to work together or else
Yeah.
it's not going to work. There's no really one person is higher than the other because we all do the same responsibilities.
Seems like, you know, we got a sense of the responsibilities on the job, the
Yeah.
dynamic between different coworkers, kind of what, you know, the kids come into the center and what the expectations are for those kids,
Yeah.
you know, based on like their eating times and nap times.
Yeah.
So what kind of skills would you say are necessary or would help someone inherently to become a great infant toddler teacher?
You really have to be hands-on. You can't be
Okay.
afraid of bodily fluids.
You can't be grossed out.
No,
right?
no. You see everything, you know. I feel like when you want to do something great, you have to learn. You have to be open-minded. So when I first started, I didn't know the procedures. I didn't know how to change a diaper. I didn't know how they do certain things. So I asked a ton of questions. More than likely, they're happy to answer the questions because you want to do something correctly and you want to do it where it's about the kids. I think, yes, number one, you can't be afraid of the bodily fluids. Number two, you have to keep an open mind and you have to always have a great day. Whatever is happening outside of the center, you leave it outside because your mood affects the kids.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Open mind, leave the negativity like outside. You have to be very vocal. You can't be afraid to mess up. You can't be afraid to ask for help. There will be situations where it's not great. And at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's not about you. It's not about the other teachers.
Yeah.
It's about the kids. So I think those are like the top three things that I think that, you know, if someone wants to get into becoming an infant toddler teacher,
something they should be comfortable with. Skills, you know, it seems like listening, being vocal, and multitasking too would be a good one.
Because sometimes you're changing a diaper, you have to write down on the sheet, but then you also have to make sure the kids are not putting their fingers in the toilet or whatever.
Yeah.
So multitasking.
Yeah. And like
you have to be aware.
Observation and aware. Let's say someone who wants to work in an infant toddler center, they want to, out of passion, they want to work with kids, but they don't have any other skills, previous experiences with kids, but they think kids are cute. Would you say that's a good enough reason? And are there any misconceptions about the job that you would warn them ahead of time?
Honestly, if you want to work with kids and if you've never done it before, I would suggest that you go and try it. One of my coworkers have never worked with kids before, and that was like her first thing, and she was fine.
Okay.
So I think it's really about your attitude.
Yeah.
It's really about if you are open-minded, if you're willing to learn, you will have a great time. And you will learn so much on the job. If you already have an interest in it, just go ahead and do it. Because a lot of those skills, it can be learned. No one's born to be a certain thing. You are trained to do it. So I think that if you're interested, definitely go and try it out for yourself. Sometimes it's okay if it doesn't work out for you. For me, I worked there for about a year. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time to move on.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you wanted to go into or add on top of what we covered?
I kind of want to go back to more of parents. I wanted to go into the communication we have with parents. Their kids are spending so much time with us, and they want to know what their kid did. They want to know what happened or how they ate. When parents pick up their kids, we usually let them know how their day was. For example, we can say that they had a great day. Today, they really liked their food. They ate all of our food. Or that we observed, they are starting to play with this toy and they haven't had an interest in that before. So they're really exploring, and that's like encouraging parents to maybe mix up their toys a little bit at home, mix up their food a little bit. Or sometimes we have to say, today the kid bit another kid or something like that, just so that they're aware of certain behaviors and see if that also is translated at home, or a kid is biting their sibling or something like that. So it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
So it's just that communication. Obviously, the parents can take whatever information that they want and they can tailor their own home life with what we told them, or they can not do anything at all. It's really up to them. I've seen parents who really take what we say and they're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I didn't even notice that before. Or a parent will ask, because this kid is biting, let's say, and the parent can ask, oh, I've noticed that at home, so what do you guys do? So maybe it's consistent with what we do at home. And so they'll ask us for advice sometimes too.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
That you're spending 8 hours of the day with your
Yeah.
child, so it seems like it'd be a good opportunity to learn about your child because you don't even see them for most of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you do have these uncomfortable conversations with parents where you're giving your kid the same food every day and your kid isn't liking it anymore. Like maybe switch it out,
right?
Maybe rotate it, and some parents will push back.
Yeah,
and that's an uncomfortable
they feel like
conversation.
Their credibility is being
Yeah,
questioned as a parent.
Exactly. And sometimes it's hard being a parent.
Yeah.
And if you're working like very demanding jobs, it's very, very hard to meal prep not only for your own self but also for your child. So it is very difficult.
I think we should go into some wrapping up of the questions by just asking a few fun questions.
Okay.
To end it off. So here's a fun one. What are some of the favorite toys and foods of the children?
They love fruit. Yeah, they love the pouches. Like they know, oh, like I'm getting a pouch today.
Yeah.
A big fan of yogurt. That's some foods that they really like.
What was some toys?
Toys. That's hard. Because every child is different. And some kids really like stacking things and then just like crushing it. They really like things with wheels. Cars,
trucks.
Yeah, trucks. Because
it like moves and they can.
Yeah, but not only that, the baby like mobile things that they can sit in and they're like pedaling with their feet. They love that and they like to race. Like they like going fast. So we have this little ramp to go into a next classroom. The kids love to like pull the little car carts up and they like to just like go down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they like going fast.
Fun.
Yeah, so I think those are the toys that I've seen kids really enjoy. But those are like the toddlers because they could walk.
Okay, and this is the last fun question.
Okay.
And it's kind of a interesting one. So, would you rather babysit one kid for 8 hours or 2 kids for 4 hours?
I don't think I've done 2 kids at once. But I definitely did 1 kid for 8 hours. Honestly, 1 kid for 8 hours.
1 kid for 8 hours?
Absolutely.
So you think double the child does not equate to double the time?
No, because...
It's more than double the time.
Yeah, because when you have 2 kids, depending if they're like walking or crawling or whatever, if they're mobile, it's 2 against 1. So they could go in 2 separate directions, so where are you going to go? I think that with 2 kids, it's... If they're the same age, like twins, if they're both on the same schedule, but maybe that's okay. But sometimes, kids, they're unpredictable. And when they're at different schedules, you don't get a break. But with 1 kid for 8 hours, they have nap time. That nap time is your downtime where you could clean the kitchen in their house or prepare a snack when they wake up or just do what you need to do to prepare for when they are out of their naps.
Yeah, so 1 kid
for 8 hours.
And then last question, just one word answer.
Okay.
Do you prefer swing or seesaw?
Oh, swing.
Well, yeah, those are all the questions I have for you. So any special shout outs or plugs?
No, not really. It's...
Okay, listen to the Make Some Plans podcast, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Let us know what questions you have on any of the things that we've talked about because we would love to answer any of those questions.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you have questions about a specific question regarding the topic, then you can just post in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
But yeah, thank you for all of the information regarding infant toddler teaching and working at an infant toddler center. So I think that kind of wraps this up. So great.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.